Hi, this is a short video that I'm making to try to get you started working with StatKey to find areas under a normal distribution that we can use to find proportions of a distribution, and also to find percentiles of a normal distribution. So I'm going to be working with the distribution of scores on an IQ test, which can be modeled with a normal distribution with mean 100 and standard deviation 15. To get started, I'm going to go into StatKey. I'm going to be working with the theoretical distribution, which is a normal. And notice when I first come in here, it has mean 0 and standard deviation 1. Those go with what we call a standard normal distribution. But if we're working with another normal distribution like ours, then we can edit the parameters, the mean and the standard deviation. So I'm going to change the mean to 100. And the standard deviation to 15. Okay, so there is our normal distribution that represents the distribution of scores on this IQ test. Okay, so let's get started with the questions. So what proportion of people score below 80? Well, to find out, we're going to come over here and we're going to say, okay, what is the area under this curve down here to the left of 80? Because these are the lower scores. So since I'm looking to the left, I'm going to use a left tail. I'm looking to the left of 80, so I need to set my cutoff value here at 80. And up here, it gives me the area in the tail to the left of 80. So the proportion of people who will score below 80 is going to be 0.091. And that's our answer. Okay, so next we want to know what proportion of people score above 150. Okay, so now we're not interested in this left tail anymore. We want to know what proportion score above 150. So here is our 150. We want to know above 150, so we want to know the area under this curve to the right of 150. And we can see that it's going to be relatively small, but exactly what it's going to be we can find by using the right tail. So I want the right tail out beyond 150, so I set my cutoff value to 150. And it tells me that, okay, the area out here is 0.0043. That means that the proportion of people who score above 150 on their IQ test is going to be 0.00043. Very, very unusual. Okay, so that's our answer to the second question. 0.00043. Okay. Now we want to know what proportion of people score between 120 and 140. Okay, so between 120 and 140, let me click this off. So we're going to be looking for this area in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a left tail go from 120 down, and a right tail go from 140 up. That's going to leave this part in the middle for us to correspond to the proportion of people that are between 120 and 140. So we go left tail, and we started at 120. We've got right tail, and we move that to 140. And now it shows us we have 0.909 less than 120. We have proportion of people above 140 is 0.0038. And then the remaining proportion in between is 0.087. So this is the proportion of people who are going to score between 120 and 140. Okay, so our answer here is 0.087. Alright, so next, instead of looking for the proportion of people who score in some certain range, what we're looking for is we're going to be looking for a percentile. We're looking for what is the lowest score that's still in the top 15% of IQ scores. So let's come in here. I'll click these off for a minute. So I'm looking for the top 15% of IQ scores, so that's going to be scores that are at the high end here. So I want to figure out where I'm going to draw my line so that I've got 15% in the upper tail. So I'm going to click on right tail. And now instead of moving my cutoff value, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually set my area to be 15%, and it's going to give me the cutoff value. So 15%, 0.15. Now I can see that the cutoff value here that gives me 15% in this right tail, the top 15% is up above it, is 115.546. So 115.546. Next, I want to find a range that contains the middle 80% of IQ scores. Okay, so to get the middle percentage, what we're going to do is we're going to work with the two tail. So I'm going to click off my right tail and turn on my two tail. Hold on. Okay, so it looks kind of crazy when it first come in, the whole thing's shaded. But what we want is we want to figure out the cutoffs that are going to give us a certain area in the middle. So I'm going to put in the area that I want, 0.80. And once I do that, you can see I've got 80% in the middle, 10% down below, 10% up above, and it gives me the cutoff values that give me 80% in the middle. So 80% of the scores are going to be between 80.777 and 119.223. So my answer here is 80.777 up to 119.223. And that's how I can find them. Hopefully this helps you get started using StatKey with the normal distribution. If you find that you have questions, please don't hesitate to let me know and I'd be happy to help.